And that was one I had to study for some time. And then he also taught me about what he called size of sound. So he talks about making the elements that you have. Some people misinterpret that as how many tracks you have, but that's not it. It's about expanding the tracks that you have, sometimes panning, sometimes using reverb, echo, delays. All the technology has to be used in an effective, efficient way so you can maximize what the fuck you doing. And I can tell you this, and I think y'all will agree. When you listen to anything that he produces, the sound clarity and quality is very high. Whether you like it or not, we ain't talking about that. We talking about the sound distribution and the sonics of that shit. Yeah. How the sonics are compressed and how they're released and frequency balancing and shit like that. You know what I'm talking about? Where it has to sound good to the eardrum, man.
Right. Like,
come on, talk to me.
Believe it or not, when I first started my YouTube thing, I had a guy in the chat. His name is Low Watermark. He left a comment on a video. He said, "Fix your sound, dude. Fix your sound. And when you fix your sound, I'm going to send you a super chat." And I fixed my sound because I needed to, because I was using, a camera mic or whatever. It was echoing, and he goes, "You fixed your sound," and he sent me like $100. He goes, "Here you go." I'm like,
see there.
Like, yeah, sound matters.
Yes.
Can I elaborate?
Sure. I wanted to ask you a question. I wanted to ask you a question real quick, Vinnie, though, because you knew Quincy Jones, right? Like, you knew what he was about.
Well, no, I didn't know Quincy Jones. I met Quincy Jones one time, and that wasn't even the time when Dream Boy was signed to him. I never got a chance to meet him. We never worked with him.
But he was a perfectionist in the studio too, kind of like Trey, right? Like,
yeah, he probably was, but I never ever worked with him in the studio. But I was gonna bring up that was my next thing to tell you. What G was talking about with Dr. Dre. Well, the first person that was like that with me was Norman Whitfield. Norman Whitfield was the perfectionist in the studio. He would have you do stuff over 1,000,000 times and then turn around and take the first take that you take and say that was the best one. And he's a perfectionist.
Can you give me some history of Norman Whitfield? I need to know the history of Norman. This is I don't know Norman. All right.
Who is that? Dave talking?
Yeah.
Well, Dave, you know his song catalog, I'm pretty sure.
Name a few.
All of the 80% of the Temptations records.
Okay.
You got Just My Imagination.
Just My Imagination.
I heard it through the grapevine.
Papa was a Rolling Stone. Ain't Too Proud to Beg.
What is it good for? Car wash.
Sold. All right.
Yeah. And so the legendary guy, he had over 150 hit records. And 80% was with the Temptations. He held the Temptations up for 7 years straight, with back to back, with all them hits that they had. Cloud 9, Runaway Child, the old master stuff. And this was all after My Girl was the hit, because Smokey Robinson had him first.
Yeah, because Smokey wrote most of their hits at the beginning, right? And then Norman took over.
Yeah, well, Smokey and a couple of other people. Well, Smokey had the biggest. He had the Temptations first, and then Norman Whitfield got the Temptations on. He had some minor hit records before he actually got them for good. And that's because his song "Ain't Too Proud to Beg" outdid Smokey's song "Get Ready," and so "Ain't Too Proud to Beg" became a hit. And from that point on, Norman Whitfield, from 1966 to 1973, he was the Temptations' lone producer, and him and Barry Strong wrote most of the hits for the Temptations. And Holland Dozier Holland, who had left in 1967, who was had the most hits for Motown, they left. So when they left, a lot of people started doing things. It was Norman Whitfield who held up Motown with the psychedelics before Stevie Wonder came involved. Stevie Wonder, I think, he came in when he was like 12 or 13 years old, something like that. But he wasn't the producer Stevie Wonder until he turned about 17 or 18 years old. And then it was just Stevie Wonder crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the era was who it was and who Norman was phenomenal what he did, man. So him, Smokey Robinson, and Holland Dozier Holland, they call them the architects of the Motown sound. Those are the main three producers in the '60s and early '70s that shaped Motown, along with Berry Gordy and his team of people, which was the, I forget what he called his writing team. I think it was shit. I can't remember what the name of it was. The company or something like that they called his writing team. But it was those people, and then
with a woman in it.
Yep, they had a woman in it. She did have one. You're right. They had a woman in there called Janie Bradford. Yeah, they had Janie Bradford was one of those writers. The Corporation. That's what they were called. The Corporation.
My friend Julio says, I saw Stevie Wonder live and it was life-changing. He's one of a kind.
Stevie Wonder is the
15
best.
years ago. Yeah.
Stevie Wonder is the best, dude. He's awesome. That's one of the most talented guys I ever seen in my life.
And didn't the Funk Brothers teach him how to do the piano? Was it the Funk?
Well,
was it the Funk Brothers that showed him how to do it?
No.
I'm gonna give you something. I'm gonna give him a jewel that you ain't gonna believe this. One of the first pianos he ever played, it was my cousin Clyde's piano. Rest in peace.
Wow.
My auntie used to walk Stevie Wonder across the street to play my cousin's piano when he was a kid.
Nice.
I had a Stevie Wonder nerd moment myself. About 12 years ago.
Julio, if you're here, clip that, dude. Just learned on BTM Reviews, like where Stevie Wonder played his first piano.
It was my cousin Clyde. His name was Clyde, and they lived on a street called Breckenridge. So if you ever see Stevie Wonder, in Detroit, you bring on the north end, he gonna be like, how you know that? He gonna want to feel your face and all kind of
shit. So Vinnie, I do have a question for you. So you were telling me earlier when we were talking about how you met Norman.
Well,
can you tell the audience how you met Norman?
Yeah. How I met Norman was that gentleman you're talking to right there, Lord G, came to LA for the first time before he moved here. And he said, Vinnie, do you know where the Valley is? Where's the Valley? I said, yeah, I know where the Valley is. He said, can you take me over to see my friend Dog and D? And I said, yeah, I'll take you over there. Well, Dog and D had a famous father, too, who was a singer named Spyder Turner, who had a hit record. He did the remake to Stand By Me in 1967, and it went #1. On
no shit.
Yeah. Not it was not the Benny, it wasn't the Benny King version, but it was a Spyder Turner version in 67. And so I didn't know this, but Lord G kept telling me, man, it's some writer, some guy, I don't even know his name, some writer from Motown that they know real good, and he been listening at my music, and I did a song with the Papa was a Rolling Stone, and Lord G was telling me all this stuff, and I kept picking his brain saying, you said, Papa, you mean Norman Whitfield? He's like, I don't know his name, I don't know who that, I don't know them old school people. And I said, man, you got it. And so when we get to Dog and D's house, I'm there talking to Spyder. I'm already in awe of Spyder Turner because that was one of the records we used to listen to.
Wait a minute. Were you in awe of this? Like, is this what you were in awe of?
Yep.
Good night.
Yep. That's it.
Oh, yeah. And the land is off.
Damn, he's good, dude. Like, that dude can sing. Like, it takes you 5 keys to go, yep, I'm listening to this guy the whole song.
And that's my guy who ended up mentoring me to work for Norman Whitfield, because Norman Whitfield was living with him when Lord G went over there to see his son, Spyder's son. And I was in there in awe of Spyder. I called my mother up. Mom, you ain't gonna believe that record you just got through putting up. I used to listen to that when I was 6 years old, 7 years with my parents. They used to love that record because he did all these imitations in the record. If you listen to that whole record, he does imitations of David Ruffin and all that in the record. So we called it the black version of Stand By Me because Benny King's version, Stand By Me, went #1 pop, and it was like the straight up version. But
Mhm.
Spyder's had the soul in it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
so I was in awe. So here's how I met Norman. So I'm in here yelling and oh my God, Mom, I'm meet Spyder Turner. Blah, blah, blah. My mom, you ain't meet no Spyder Turner. Blah, blah, blah. Then Norman Whitfield comes out of nowhere, like out of a closet, and says, "Man, who the hell is that making all that goddamn noise, acting like a goddamn groupie?" You know, and he's talking shit. And then he reached his hand out to me and said, "Hi, I'm Norman Whitfield." And I almost had a fit. And I did the same thing. I was like, Lord G, this is him. This is who I was talking about. This is Norman Whitfield, man. Do you know who this is? And Norman G just looking at me like, I don't know who the fuck that is. I said, this is just the man who wrote all them Temptation records and Rolls Royce records, man. You got to be kidding me. And so that's how I met Norman.
So
It's hard to
Norman,
not be a fanboy when you meet somebody that you look up to, but it's dangerous because sometimes you meet them and it's like, ooh, this is not the person I thought it was. You know what I mean? So it's definitely dangerous to
Well,
meet a
no.
mentor.
Hey, trust me. He showed his colors with that too. he got on my nerves. I'm not gonna lie to you. He was a rough character. He had talked shit, but see what he didn't know is that Vinnie didn't give a shit about that, and I talked shit back. You know, and that's when he ended up liking him. He's like, I like you. You're an underdog like me, Vinny. You ain't take no shit. I said, hell no. Lord G the same way. Lord G and me, he seen me and Lord G argue and we was going at it. Lord G got mad and he went off on Norman. and I had to hold him back. I was like, gee, you ain't supposed to talk to no grown man like that. Here I am talking crazy to him. Now Lord G done took over. I was like, Lord G, you can't talk to him like that. No. And Lord G looking at me like, man, the way he was dissing you.
Now, was Norman different in the studio versus like in real life? So like when he was at the studio, like it was on.
Or he was the same guy all the time. He showed his true colors at every turn. When he worked in the studio, if you wasn't there for business, you better get out the way. Yeah, he wasn't
just like in life, like he don't want to hear your bullshit. Give me the bullet points. I just want to know the fucking bullet points. I don't need the whole story.
Straight thing. If you was drinking and smoking weed and all that, you wasn't in his studio.
Oh wow, okay.
You know, he wasn't having it. And then he got to a point where he got okay with weed. And you could smoke weed, but not in the studio. You had to go outside or whatever. But and it's one of the things he used to say about weed is like, the only reason I don't mind weed is because I like the way it smells. I ain't never known nobody like the way it smells. You know.
And then also he was a certain way with moderation. So you know, if you can drink, everybody don't drink the same. Some people drink and get drunk.
Yeah,
you got to be able. He felt like you got to be able to handle whatever it is that you do, which I agree with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
And guess who his favorite rapper was? Can you guess?
Houdini?
Lord G.
Really?
He used to tell me when he was working with us, he used to tell me all the time, hey, Vinny, you got a prize there, buddy. He's better than Snoop and all of them boys. And you know what, Vinny? He's going to be a better producer than he is a writer and a performer. He said, this
high
dude
praise.
He sure did say that too.
He said, this dude is multi-talented, bro. He said, I wouldn't tell you no lie, because if I didn't like him, I'd have told you I don't like him. He said, he's like the David Ruffin of rap.
Wow.
Yeah. And David Ruffin was one of his favorite singers. David Ruffin, Marvin Gaye, and Gladys Knight, and Ronald Isley was his favorites.
And you know what's crazy about that? We can segue from David Ruffin to the brother that came to Death Row with us, David Ruffin Jr., which is David Ruffin's son. He's the one singing on Snoop Dogg's Rolling Down the Street smoking Indo, sipping on gin and juice. That's
Is it
David
really?
Ruffins' son.
Interesting. Okay.
Wow.
That
Ain't that
and-
crazy? This shit
Yeah.
crazy, bruh. This shit
That
is
is
crazy.
Yep, and that's how Lord G got to Death Row through him and Tony Green. That's what started our relationship over there with Lord G being a part of that.
Mhm.
Now with the movie business, for as big as it seems, it's kind of a small world. Is music the same way? Where it's like, if you piss somebody off, that potentially you could potentially be leaving money on the table if you piss somebody off. So is it kind of a small world?
It's very
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Because the guy that Death Row turns down and Electra signs, they still talk. They know who each other. They all go to dinner together and shit. Like, I'm a bourbon guy. I love bourbon. I was watching a video the other day, and they said the big three distilleries, Wild Turkey, Jim Beam, and Buffalo Trace, the owners of the distilleries would go to dinner every week and just talk about what they were doing. But when they were at dinner, they made each other drink their bourbons just to fuck with each other because, you know, hey, well, like, because it's fun, dude. Like, that's the same thing with it's the whole thing, man. Like, oh, they're passing around these actresses
You ain't going outside,
in
man.
Hollywood. They're passing around these music artists. Like,
No, you
you
can't
know
go
what? Lord
outside.
G
You
is
already
great. You know, he's super positive.
What?
And
You wanna go outside?
you got a dog, Vinny?
Hey, G, I gotta say this to G. G, you know this dog over here talks like 7. You know that, right? Hey, I say to this dog comes and gets me every time he wants to go outside or something. He'll come lick my hand. And I say, you want to go outside? And he'll go, every time. He's like, yeah, man, what you waiting for?
Why are you sitting on your ass? Get up, Vincent. God damn it. I need to go pee.
He's a black lab. He's looking at me right now, wagging his tail like, man, what you waiting for?
Who are you talking to? Like, come on.
Oh yeah, he know what's happening. But I don't think he needs to go outside. I think he's just being nosy because if he wanted to go
He wants
outside,
your attention.
he'd be
Vincent.
flipping out right now. But
Vincent and Lord G, my friend Julio, who sent the 10 memberships earlier, he wants to talk to you guys, but he doesn't want to ruin the flow. If you guys are willing to come back on a Sunday night and hang out with me, Derek, and Julio, we would love it. Before your
all good for me. Yeah.
yeah, if you guys are up for that, like, I hope you guys are having a good time. Like, we
We are.
yeah.
Hey,
Absolutely.
I gotta tell you, Dave. This is our first podcast ever of doing that. Well, mine's Lord G. Oh, we did one before, but it wasn't like this. This is more focused on both of our careers and telling you guys our journey.
Because I want to know about this. Like, dude, this is what makes me like I have a life, right? I got where I'm at doing what I did. It's not through music, but it's through life lessons. Like Vinnie said earlier, he made mistakes, and I'm sure, Lord G, you've made mistakes. You're like, oh man, maybe I should have that right turn when I made the left. God damn it! Like, it just happens, right? But as you get older, you know, I'll never forget this, guys. And this is going to sound ridiculous, but I was driving down the road in Plainfield, Illinois one day, and at a gas station on the sign, it said, "There are no regrets in life, just lessons learned."
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, he's absolutely right. You can't regret your decision. You just got to learn from it, dude. Learn.
And Dave, I gotta answer something that you said earlier that I didn't get a chance to say when you was talking about the just work, not working it had to be money involved and all that. And, I was just working for fame. I had a job through my other jobs where I was working, making money all the time for myself.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to keep it going. You have to keep going.
Yeah.
Keep pushing.
Right.
So I kept pushing, and then when I started getting paid from being in the record industry, working for MCA Records, that took a load off of me too. I was able to make money doing what I was doing. So I didn't completely sour out with not making money because I ended up making some money myself. I made a living. I made a living. I didn't get filthy rich, but I was successful, and I made a living doing what I was loving to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you got to meet so
in my
many.
opinion, that makes you rich in my book. Do what
Well,
you
yeah,
love
like
doing.
look, I meet people every day. I'm a salesperson, right? I go out every day and I sell what I sell. You guys are performers, right? But you also have to build relationships in the same way I do when I'm doing sales. Like if I piss off the wrong person, they're not going to buy from you. If you guys piss off the wrong person, they're not going to put you in their club, whatever it may be, right? But when you guys meet people, you meet people that people might know who they are, like this Eminem guy or this Dr. Dre guy. Like somebody might know who that is. Well, I meet people, nobody knows who they are, but I do. And it's important to me to build that relationship, just like you guys did. Like when you guys met Dr. Dre, he was just a guy starting out. Like he was just really starting, like at that time, right? He wasn't.
No,
I mean,
he had
Well,
kind
he
of
was still
established
kind of
himself.
big.
Oh, what was he?
Yeah,
Yeah,
had-
because
he had
they
Tupac
was
at that
doing
point,
that.
right?
No, they had that deep cover soundtrack with Jeff Goldblum and Larry Fishburne. They had the song 187 on the Undercover Cop.
but remember, he had all those albums with NWA too, and Miss Chalet.
Yeah, that was
Right, he had the world class record crew. Right, he had
Yep.
that too.
Okay.
Now,
But now you remember that when we came across the spectrum, that deep cover movie, which is actually a really good movie, Jeff Goldblum and Larry Fishburne, it's called Deep Cover. It's a really good movie, classic. Now it's a song on the soundtrack. This is before Snoop had his album. This is Snoop's first big record, was that song 187 on the Undercover Cop.
Okay. For Above the Rim, like how did that you have a song on the record and then a couple songs in the actual movie. Like how did that start? Did you know, because Dre was the producer on that, right? Did you know Dre before that?
Nope.
No? Did he hear your music and want you to be part of it?
Well, you know what happened was Vince had some connections with New Line Cinema. New Line Cinema are the producers of the movie, right? So that's the production team that did Above the Rim, New Line Cinema. Now the soundtrack was done by Death Row, which is under Interscope. You feel me?
Okay.
So the soundtrack is separate from New Line Cinema and what they're doing. So what we did with New Line Cinema is under what you call the score. That's the score that we did with them. And with Death Row, we did an appearance on the movie soundtrack. And so when you watch the credits, you're going to see my name on there twice. It's going to be because I'm on the soundtrack and then because of the score with New Line Cinema.
Nice.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Do you still get residuals from that?
Absolutely.
And
Nice.
so do I. Yep.
That was huge back in the day.
Oh, you do too, Vinny? Nice.
Oh yeah.
Especially for rap music. That was huge. I remember as a little kid listening to that. It's great.
Hey, you know what's funny? When we was in the theater, they had the premiere for us in Hollywood at the Chinese Man Theater, which is a famous theater on the Strip, right? And so when we watching the movie and shit, Tupac, everybody's there. Snoop, Daz, Corrupt, all the brothers. Nate Dogg, rest in peace. You feel me? And we're watching the movie, and when the movie goes off and we're watching the credits and they saw my name on there twice, they said, "How you do that, cuz?" It was funny too. That was funny as hell.
Well,
great.
the cold part about it too, guys, is that because they were the famous people in the soundtrack and we were unknown, but when the movie first come on, you hear my song in the beginning and one of the basketball rehearsal scenes, practice scenes. My track comes on, and then Lord G's track come on, and we had more cues in the movie than anybody. Our 2 songs was queued up in the movie all over the place with those same tracks, and everybody was
That's
like,
why it's the
"Who
score.
did that?" You know.
Nice.
But you didn't know about it because we only did the instrumental parts, and they only had our instrumental parts in it. Like when you heard Nate Dogg's song at the end of the movie, it was Regulate, which they was promoting real hard.
Oh
Or you
yeah,
heard,
it was everywhere.
yeah. So you know, but they would kept wondering like, how these boys get all they, how they get their tracks in all them scenes, and me and G was sitting there going, wow, and how we got our scenes. We had like 19 cues, okay, in the movie,
19?
something
Holy
like that, yeah.
shit.
And
Yeah.
so they would
Yeah.
play the tracks in different parts of the scene. And the biggest scene was the game when Tupac's brother comes in and he starts killing his group. He starts winning the game. And that's me and Lord G's my track, and then Lord G's track, which I placed both of those with the New Line Cinema people. And who got those on there for us was Norman Whitfield Jr., Norman Whitfield's son, who was the guy who was mixing Tupac's song Pain.